Everybody's had those for a while. What's the pleasure of the council?
I move to approve them.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify with aye.
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 Those opposed, like sign. All right. Lori, you said we don't have anybody with public comments? Okay,
Well, we were supposed to, but he didn't show.
okay. Next item on the agenda is election of officers. It's that time of year again. We'll open the floor for nominations.
Let's leave them like they are.
I agree.
Seems to be working.
So is that like a motion and a second?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Y'all make this real hard every year, you know that?
Mm.
Okay,
Well,
so
you
we have the
good
motion
job.
second to leave it, I guess myself as chairman and Dr. Stover as vice. Further discussion? Those in favor signify with aye.
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 Those opposed, like sign. Okay, well, thank you very much. You're on, Mr. Bo.
All right, appreciate it, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to start out this meeting. As you know, the crisis with COVID has hit a lot of us hard. We actually got hit pretty hard at the airport. As many of you are, I'm sure, are aware, we did lose one of our employees, Mr. Ronnie Martin. So I would like to take a moment of reflection for Mr. Martin and what he meant for us at the airport, particularly with me and my role, as well as the many people out there that got to see him every day, enjoyed his infectious smile, his jokes, etc. So if you don't mind, just taking a quick moment of silence in his honor. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, going to the COVID-19 pandemic, we continue to be vigilant at the airport, monitoring the COVID crisis in terms of our aviation community. We're still currently observing the governor's executive order in regards to everything it entails. As a reminder from the email that I sent out last week to the council as well as to the tenants, currently Franklin County is in the section of the age group of 75 years and older in regards to the vaccination. There is a process that you have to go through to get on their list. It's not something you can just show up for, but it is a process that you have to fill out, and then you'll get an email when it is your time, if it is so approved, with some data points that you have to provide to the health department. So if you did miss that email, or if you have any loved ones or anybody you want to share that information with, just reach out to me and I'll be glad to get that copy to you. And as soon as it drops down to 65 and older, I will make sure to let y'all know, because I think a fair amount of people fall into that age group. So just keep vigilant is all I have to say. Me, obviously, and others are in a very cautious situation and remission of cancer and other things that may be affected. And I appreciate everybody's willingness at the airport when I'm there to wear masks as we require, and I continue to have it cleaned as needed, that we see fit there to keep everybody safe.
I can speak firsthand to the vaccination. I went this morning for mine, and you need to plan on about 2 to 4 hours. I got there. I would have been later when my staff was there early and said, "You need to get here now." It was supposed to start at 10. I got there at 8:30, and the line was already backed out to Bickett Boulevard. And by the time the line started moving, the IGA parking lot was also full. But to their credit, once the line started moving, we got through pretty quick. Took about 45 minutes.
Good.
All right.
Personally, I'm just glad to hear a lot of folks are wanting to get it done.
Yeah, because I have a patient up in Warren County who's on the EMT squad. She said her and her husband, who works in making vaccines, is the only 2 people on their squad that have agreed to get it.
Oh, well.
All right. So as soon as more information comes out on the Franklin County side, I'll make sure to share it with everybody, as well as our tenant community.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. On the operation side, as you've received, or those that own aircraft, if you happen to be one of these individuals here on our call today, you received an email from me in regards to the process that I'm required to do in terms of an inventory base of aircraft at Triangle North. This is something that I have to turn in to the Franklin County Tax Office. I just wanted to make sure to reiterate, this is not the official list that the tax office goes by. So if you are an owner of an aircraft, and like I said, I have sent it out to everybody on the field individually, then you need to make sure that your aircraft or property is listed with the tax office. That is not the airport's responsibility. They just use my list to cross-reference their list to make sure everybody's accounted for. If you need that information again, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be glad to send you that. That includes the link to the listing form if you need to change any of your information or if you need to edit it. Secondly, the fuel prices at the airport have currently not changed since September. I have tried my best to keep it as low as possible and stay within the mid-range of all the aviation airports around us. Just want to let you know that the fuel prices are going up. It increased about 30 cents per gallon over the last 2 loads that we received this week. And so I will be looking at that and probably having to shift price up a little bit to encounter some of that cost reflection for operations and for fuel. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Also, I want to let you know that I am addressing some maintenance issues at the airport. The latest one is that we replaced some of the fuel farm lights out at the tanks to provide security and safety for all those in that general area. And we're looking at replacing some future lights and some hangers that have gone out over the next month or 2. So currently, in terms of maintenance, I'm trying to keep ahead of things, being proactive about that, and making sure we address things before it becomes, a real issue in the future. Real estate wise, regarding the tie down spots, I want to let you know that we continue to be close to capacity. I know you hear this from me every time, but I think it's important to keep reiterating it. We currently have 2 spots that are not accounted for, so we're pretty much completely full. We do have 2 new tenants that have come online. Nobody has left, but the 2 new ones are James Martin, and he's bringing a Piper Sport, and Mr. Dwayne Dillingham, who's going to be relocating from the small airport near 85. He has a beach bonanza, and he usually comes to us in the winter with it being the wet season, but he has informed me today that he will be staying on long-term at LHZ. So we'll have another nice aircraft there that tends to fly a lot, which obviously we all like to see. In regards to the T-hanger storage areas, as I mentioned, we continue to be full in those, continue to fill them up as soon as we get them. We currently have 77. I got another request today, 77 potential T-hangers, individuals that are on the waiting list. So obviously we continue to look at that in terms of the grant funding, and I'll talk about that later. In regards to that road out there that we desperately need straightened to be able to further development. We did have a renewal of a T-hanger, Mr. Rod Adams, who has been with us a long time. He currently has 2 aircraft, if you can believe it, in his hangar. And he has signed on for another 2 years. And it looks like he has an additional aircraft in there he's going to start building in the future. So he continues to be very active at the airport. In the corporate area section, we have renewed an operating agreement with Fayard Enterprises to store their King Air, to have that based at Triangle North. And that is currently in the leased hangar that Total Flight Solutions have, which is connected to the hangar beside the corporate jet of Captive Air. So we continue to welcome Mr. Fayard and his company there with that particular aircraft. And then I would also like to notify the airport council on what I can. And I say that because we are entertaining a potential project, a hangar project in the south end that is looking to go beside Dr. Stover's hangar. It looks to be a 66-foot by 60-foot hangar that they are considering, and we hope to be able to bring that before the Franklin County Board of Commissioners for consideration in February. So more on that as I get it, and when I can share more information, I'll make sure to share that with you as we go forward, obviously with future development. And again, I know I got a lot to talk about, so if y'all have any questions, feel free to just jet in. I'm happy to answer what I can. On the marketing side, just to let you know, the airport hosted Representative Matthew Winslow of Franklin County on a visit last week, I guess it was now. My weeks run into each other. To inform him of the airport's needs and our desire for growth. Discussion points, as I mentioned, we definitely talked about our current state, our economic impact, and what we currently have going on at the airport, but we also addressed some of the needs moving forward for growth, and requested any help he can provide as he goes through his freshman representation this year in the legislature. I do appreciate Chair Allers joining us for that conversation, as well as Economic Development Director Richie Duncan, as well as two of our engineers of record, Greg Vandermolen and Mr. Tim Little, excuse me. They were instrumental in really showing him the infrastructure, how things work, and what our needs are in regards to a lot of the structures out at the airport for growth. We're also working with the Economic Development Office and the Franklin County Committee of 100, looking at constructing a possible visible sign that will go off of 401 and Airport Road that will highlight both the airport and the business park. And obviously look to remove that older sign that we have sitting there and really give it a little bit more visibility on the road. So more information about that will come out. I believe there's an RFQ that will be administered, and we hope to have some activity on that in the future months to really highlight our airport off of US 401. And then also want to bring to your attention, if you've not seen it already, but the North Carolina Division of Aviation yesterday released their 2021 aviation report called the State of Aviation. That was, as you know, they release these reports every 2 to 3 years, and they look at the economic impact analysis of aviation on the state of North Carolina, which is currently at $61 billion. And then they actually tie down to the local commercial and general aviation airports. And I'm happy to say our aviation airport went up from $25 million economic impact to right at $27 million economic impact. So a good $2 million increase over the past 2 years in regards to what's going on at our activity at our airport. Just so you know, in regards to the data that I provide behind the scenes, just to give you a little clips of that, currently at this time, now this data for the report, just to keep in mind, is pre-COVID, and also it dates back to 2019. So their data is lagging in terms of how they report their analysis, but it is the most accurate to this date point in terms of a publication. So currently at that point, and this actually concurs with our master layout plan numbers as well, but at that time period, or based on this report, we have 146 based aircraft at Triangle North and a total of over 87,700 operations. So these operations are both, so landing as well as departure, each individually is counted as an operation. So obviously having the flight school there, having Civil Air Patrol, as well as a robust growth of tenants, it's really helped our operations number go up over the last 2 to 3 years. Also want to mention that we have 11 businesses based at the airport, representing 74 employees, whether it's part-time or whether it's full-time. And in terms of gallons sold, you may find interesting, 2019 numbers again, you're looking at 67,000 gallons of avgas was sold and 62,000 gallons of Jet A. So we continue to monitor those numbers, and obviously it puts us in a good position going forward, and they like to see these growth numbers in all different categories. So that's one that we definitely keep up with. Shifting a little bit, and unless anybody has any questions on that, because that's a pretty big report, I'll be sure to send that out to all of you. It's a PDF. It's about 10 megabytes, so it's pretty big. So if you don't get it, let me know, and I'll try to figure out some other mechanism or way to get it out to you. Shifting a little bit to our grant updates. In terms of the master layout plan, we're still on pace to hopefully have that completed in the first quarter 21. It may stretch a little bit into April or May, depending upon how long the Division of Aviation and the FAA takes to review it and approve it. But we hope that it definitely will be done, if not the end of this quarter coming up, but by June 30th of this year. The MLP consultants are comprising the financial modeling data that will help us in terms of growth and see how we're doing. This is something that is required in regards to our blueprint and really adjusting to see what our revenue mechanisms are to make sure we have leases in place, operating agreements in place, and then they look at the financial modeling of those over year to make sure that we have enough revenue that's coming in on a consistent basis. This obviously establishes our position for future funding because they see that that we're doing what we need to do to maintain a very viable economic engine for the county and for the state. And then we're, in terms of the MLP, we're still currently going through another iteration of the airport layout plan. I was able to see some of that last week with Chair Allers at our meeting with Representative Winslow. It's a pretty cool map, and it shows pretty much the whole airport, the infrastructure, where everything lays in terms of on the ground. And as soon as that becomes a draft copy, I'll make sure to share it with the council as well for any comments or any suggestions that you may have. Shifting to the lighting grant that obviously you may know, we're in the full mix of it. We're just over at the halfway point in regards to the LED lights going onto the field. And I have heard nothing but wonderful, wonderful results on that. And to the point where Cat DeVere and others comment about how bright the lights are, and they're very welcomed. Considering the lights that we had installed date back to the mid-90s, which I've been told that the life expectancy of lights is right around 15 years. So we were pushing 7 to 10 years past the life expectancy that we currently had. So looking forward to continuing that project to move that forward. Currently, just so you know, the taxiway, parallel taxiway from Alpha 3 to departure N5 is currently being addressed and is currently closed. That doesn't mean that we can't operate at the airport, but it means that aircraft do have to back taxi if needed off of Alpha 3 to be able to take off or to come back into the taxiway. But I've had no issues with that. I actually was out there last week, and I had a Learjet come in, and they landed 2-3 and had to back taxi back to Alpha 3. I asked him if there was any issues, and he said none at all. He turned the airplane around really, really easily and came back and said there was no issue, and he had noted the NOTAM as well. So I'm glad he saw that. And then obviously we will continue to monitor and to update our constituents, our aviation community with NOTAMs, with a social media post to keep them apprised of how that changes as we go throughout this project. And again, I hope that this particular project will be done April, May, or June, again, kind of coinciding with the MLP in a sense in terms of this end. But as far as I know, and I have another meeting on Friday with the whole team to see what the update is and schedule. As you know, we've had a lot of wet weather over the past 2 or 3 weeks, which has set them back a little bit. But they're bringing in an extra crew or two to help address the time delay, and hopefully can get back up to speed to meet those deadlines. And then lastly, in regards to the airport rehabilitation grant that we got for pavement, the design work is currently being conducted by our engineers. That includes the full rehab of the pavement, apron, and all the asphalt basically on the airport, except for a couple small areas. And these are areas that definitely needed improvement. I've been told by engineers that the asphalt, when it comes back, they'll probably take about an inch off and come back with 2 inches. So we're not going to gain per se the weight capacity increase. It will be a very, very strong pavement and taxiway for any type of aircraft that obviously will come into Triangle North in the near future. So we'll continue to look at that and work with our consultants in regards to that area. There is, as you know, in terms of the pavement rehab and the design, the taxiway, due to the new FAA regulations, basically are pushing our taxiway and our separations back, which means that when this project hopefully gets funded come next fiscal year by the state and the feds, which will mean that we will probably lose anywhere from 3 to 6 tie-down spots closest to the taxiway to make sure we're in alignment with the new regulations for separation for taxiway. What that means is that we've been working with our engineers on an apron expansion to the south, and if that funds, and we're very hopeful will come through, because we told them that you're taking away so many tie downs and we're already at full capacity that we need that for growth. So they're definitely considering that in their funding models. And if we are able to get that extra money, that I feel fairly certain that it looks positive, we would actually gain an additional 10 tie down spots on top of what we currently have now. So that's all good news. And then lastly, in regards to the redesign of the apron, we're working with the engineers again. Be glad to share the draft, and Chair Allers has seen it and provided a little comment, and we'll seek your comment as well. Excuse me. But we're looking at how our new tie downs will look, how the new parking for transient will look, putting larger tie downs for twins and multi-engines, as well as 3 or so parking spots for corporate jets. So really trying to address the current needs of what we really need out on our big apron and the growth for the future. So without further ado, I know that was long, but any questions that you may have on any of this, you feel free to ask now, or if you want to reach out by telephone or email, I'm happy to answer and address. And I thank you for your time.
Bo, I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
On that growth, what were the workload indicators that pushed that up $2 million?
Well, based on the last one, there's a lot of factors, Steve, that they look at. One thing that increased was we did gain an employee or two that added more people. Also, some of our existing businesses added more jobs. There's more aircraft on the field from the last time that it was reported, which meant that our property tax went up, meant that our fuel sales went up. There's a lot of factors in terms of our lease rates, and so they take all of that information and they put it into some type of economic modeling analysis, and it produces your economic impact. So those are some of the key factors.
Yeah, I read the last one. I was just
Yes,
thinking $2 million. That's aggressive. I mean, it's good to hear. I was just wondering if there was a particular workload indicator that pushed it that way, but evidently it's just a collective.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Correct.
Thank you, Bo.
Absolutely.
What is the status on winding down Rick Pankey's business?
What I am able to disclose is that I've been in very close conversations with his son, Richard, who is taking over the business for now. Richard has assumed the leases of the storage areas, so they are now still under lease with the airport and the county. In regards to his business, obviously, he has, to my knowledge, 5 to 6 suitors that have expressed interest in buying the business. And what I have told him is that, you know, Plain Design is still currently under lease, and he has continued to pay the monthly rent for that space. I've expressed my desires in regards to hopefully getting another maintenance shop in that particular space. But he has been forthcoming with not who they are yet, but as that process goes down the line, he's going to definitely have us involved in terms of who might possibly go in there. So as soon as I know more, I'll be glad to share it with you. But I've expressed our interest to hopefully get another maintenance shop there.
All right.
Any other questions? I just like to throw out there, the visit with Representative Winslow was a good one. He was very upfront and admitted that, hey, I'm a new guy. It's going to take me a little while to figure out who I got to talk to, who's got influence, who doesn't, whatever. But he was very interested in the airport and very interested in our growth opportunities out there. And I think we're going to see some good things from him helping us go forward. You agree with that, Bo?
I agree, yes, sir. And he's already followed up and wants to make sure we send him some of those action items that we discussed last Thursday.
Yeah. He asked, just to be open and honest, he asked us what was our priorities, and I think everybody in the room all said, get that road straightened so we can get some more T hangars built
Yes, sir.
and get growth going here. So, yeah.
Yeah, the three items, John, that I remember in our discussion was the road through the STI funding. And then second was the terminal, seeing where we can find funds, hopefully, to expand to basically build a new terminal. And then the other one would be, just consistent help to make sure that we continue to stay in the forefront for future grants.
Yep, definitely. Anyone have anything else to add or questions or anything? All right. Moving on then to other business. Anyone have anything? Dr.
Yes.
Stover, did you want to bring?
Mr. Chairman, I will say that Brett James has come into the meeting. He is waiting in the queue.
And I'd like to move that we give him an opportunity to speak.
Any objections with anyone? Okay.
Thank you, Coy.
Hello. I just want to make sure I'm working this thing correctly. Everybody got me?
Yeah, sure do.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I spoke with Bo and the new county manager a couple weeks ago with regard to trying to put up a hangar for my TBM business. And kind of we talked about the future plans and things of that nature. The problem that I'm seeing here is that the hangars that are going down toward the north side comes into the fact that those are supposed to be just storage hangars. When I started this process back in 2008, when I first got here, I've talked to everybody about putting up a hangar, and it came down to, well, we don't have the space, but when we moved the trees, and then the trees were moved, and then the master plan, and I actually had representatives of Daher Aircraft Corporation come up twice, and they were shown the master plans, and one of the spaces for the two buildings was told to them both times that that's where Brett can build. We'll fast forward to after Steve Merritt passed. It seems that my concern was that everything that we talked about and everything we had put together seemed to fade away, just left. And I know there was, bookkeeping, whatever, that's immaterial at this point. The point is that I feel like I'm being leapfrogged over quite a bit when I'm the only major airframe service center on the airport, and I'm the only one south of Connecticut and north of the factory in Pompano on the East Coast. So we bring in aircraft that are valued between $1.8 and $4.4 million. I also have 4 aircraft that are brand new 900 series that are worth between $3.8 and $4.3 million that will base here at Lewisburg if I build a hangar. That's you're pushing over $15 million of ad valorem tax the day I open the doors. That's a nice little chunk of change going back to the airport. So Bo told me that to write up something about my business and things of that nature, but it doesn't look like anything's going to happen on my behalf for 2 years. My question is that if the current hangar situation is the way it is, and we keep moving different people around in hangars if and when they become open, and businesses like mine don't get the first, hey, we know we have these airplanes sitting around all over the airport. You can't fit them in your hangar. We have a new opening. That'd be kind of nice. The other thing is too, is that if the north side is going to be all for storage and you want these big airplanes to come in, I mean, I have a Husky and it's a little airplane that I share with somebody, and it's not a big Jet A burner, but that's what I bring in. And all but one aircraft fly into the airport as well. And I bring them in from all over the country, South America. I do 4 trips over the drink, every single year into Europe. And that's where we pull from. And I'm trying to figure out how we can get, if there's any kind of provisions for me to put a hangar up there, because where I'm at, it's too small. I'm too cramped. And I can only put in 2 of these airplanes in here, and I'm always fighting for space. Just like now, I've pushed people out, and I literally, believe it or not, I bought a bus, a literal Bluebird 35-foot bus that I can pull a hangar behind me because I don't have space, and I can go and travel to these people in their own hangars when they have a maintenance issue instead of them coming here to Triangle North. I mean, that's the level of my resolve to keep my customers happy. But I just think that if you keep putting up storage hangars, who's going to be on the airport to actually maintain these things? Because this is all I maintain are these turbine airplanes. And I'm trying to figure out if this is really going to work or not. And I know I've written up something about the business and things of that nature, but I need to know, is this something that's going to happen that we can accelerate, or is this something that's going to have to move with no disrespect, kind of move at the speed of government, so to speak, because I've got a business here that I've languished now here in that same spot since 2008, and I've got to move, or I've got to build, and I'll have to. I don't want to move. This is my home. I live here. I have everything here in Franklin County. All right, so it's not just a place where I just work. I mean, this is it for me. But I'm running out of space, and I'm running out of ideas, and the business is stymied because I can't move. Yet we're putting up hangars to store airplanes when I can put a hangar up and turn key right off the bat. And it's somebody who's here, that lives here and works here. So I just didn't know if there's a future for my company at Franklin County because of the limitations that are here. And it's, I understand things the way they have to go, but 13 years is quite frustrating to be here this long and kind of not even being considered until I raise a little bit of a stink. So, if there's any way that we can consider putting up a hangar, I've got backers to start putting up a hangar, and I've got things that are ready to roll. But I'd be lying to you to say if I wasn't looking at other avenues that are wanting me to come to their airport. It's not a convenient airport, and moving a business is expensive, and I don't want to move, but I need to know for planning if this is even going to happen in the next 1, 2, or even 3 years. And if it is, great. If it's not, I need to know these things because it's been a long time. And that's about it.
Okay.
Well, I'll chime in. I mean, if it's good business, it makes sense to do. If it's good business, to do good business. I mean, John, you're more read into this. The man deserves a straight answer. Is it something we can do?
It would probably be better if we discussed that at another time, wouldn't it?
Why? I think this is a great time to discuss it right here and now in a public forum.
That'd be a contract issue, which I think could be done.
Well, no, this is the first I've heard that the Northern tarmac was supposed to be reserved for storage. I don't remember ever that being discussed here.
I don't
Yeah.
recall that either, frankly.
That is currently what the master layout plan is showing in that particular area. It does,
Well-
excuse me, it does not mean that it cannot be changed. Obviously, the MLP is flexible in regards to what businesses go down there, but in the current setup, it is my understanding, and I know I have my engineers on the phone if they want to comment, but originally, or as it sits right now, we were looking at storage to build that area out. And then the maintenance part would obviously go between the current maintenance area as well as that corporate inn in the middle.
That's all fine and good, but we got a man who's been on this airport for 13 years, who's talking about bringing a large amount of business and ad valorem tax to this airport, and we're holding them up. And your predecessor, I think, was moving forward very quickly at getting this done. And now now we're dragging our feet. This man deserves an answer, and he deserves an answer in the next few weeks or months, not 2 or 3 years down the road. And
With all due respect, Dr. Stover, we did talk to Mr. James on November 25th of last year. We had a conversation, me and the county manager, with him. We obviously welcomed his desire to expand at the airport. And at that particular point in the meeting, we requested that he come forth with initiating a meeting with us to provide a business plan, his financial modeling, et cetera, so that we could bring it forth for consideration. So we're currently in the state of waiting to hear from Mr. James in regards to that action. Now, I will say in regards to the corporate inn, there are 2 current open hangar spaces. Both of them are currently under negotiations with 2 different individuals. Mr. James knows that, and I've been pretty clear with him on that. But again, it does not mean that we would not entertain him or his investors coming in to move dirt to help us with the infrastructure so that he can put another hangar in a 3rd spot there in the northern end. We do not see any issues with that. We're just waiting, honestly, for him to come forth with that information for our consideration.
If I may chime in on one thing there, Bo.
Yes, sir.
he comes forward with, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You go ahead, Dr. Stover.
So what you're saying is if he comes forward with a reasonable business plan, you're not opposed to him building on the north tarmac?
Correct. It would be in a brand new spot that we currently don't have laying there for development. So it would have to incorporate the actual construction, moving dirt, all of that good stuff that goes into actually a company going in on a piece of property and putting up a hangar. Yes, sir.
Okay, where are you talking about? I'm not following you.
Sure, it would be to, well, obviously it doesn't exist right now, but there's 2 spots down there. So it would be going from north to south on the corporate end, and it would be right beside where it goes up that hill. So we would have to work out in regards to moving dirt and all that in regards to that space.
Well, we already have a fairly extensive tarmac down on the north side.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't understand why we want to reserve that just for storage.
Well, like I mentioned, there are 2 negotiations we're going forth with 2 individuals / companies on those particular spots.
You're talking
Now,
about
if one of those falls through, obviously, then it will become available, and then we can move forward with Mr. James's request when we get all the information.
So you're talking about the north tarmac?
Yes, sir.
And real quick, if I may say something, Bo's right. There's nothing restricting the north end to storage. That is how we have it shown on the master plan as hangars. Those don't have to be storage hangars. They can be maintenance hangars. The main difference between a storage and a maintenance hangar is the requirement for a foam system in the hangar. So that really just comes down to your hangar design, if you will. The apron space and the lot is still the same, whether it's storage or maintenance.
Well, that's my understanding. Okay.
So
Brett,
I've got a
Brett, did you have anything? I know I cut you off and I didn't mean to, sir.
who was that for, Greg?
For Brett.
Oh, Brett, go ahead. Yeah, Mr. James, go ahead.
You're muted.
Mr. James, did you have something else you wanted to throw in there?
There we go. Now I'm unmuted. I had to look for the prompts on that. Sorry about that. Yeah, the one question I did have though is if the two hangars that are there go through and we don't have provisions for the third, what is, I know you talked about that you need extra grants, you need extra money come in and all this kind of junk. What is the, what's the time frame for me to start building that third hangar? If today the other two negotiations go through, everybody's happy, what's that time frame look like for me to start building on a third spot? And that's really what I'm getting at, is the time factor of from the day I can start putting a shovel in the ground and building the hangar.
I guess I'll speak of it in terms of the economic development part of it. Obviously, we would seek out any aviation and economic development grants that may be possible to help with the cost of the land down there in regards to getting it pad ready. But as it currently sits right now, we do not have the funds in place to construct an additional pad, so to say, or two pads, et cetera. But obviously that is something through the MLP. Once that's finalized, obviously will justify us going after future funding for that particular development. Brett, I can't answer that question, to be honest with you. I wish I could. I wish I could move the land myself. But right now, currently, I can't give you a time period unless it's a particular model in which you or the companies that are the investors are willing to move that land or that dirt yourself to construct a pad ready site, as you know, many development sites off the airport have to do anyway.
Right, and you beat me to the punch in my second question. Would the county be willing to entertain, we do the work and then we get some sort of reimbursement of investment to move that land and make it pad ready? Is that something the county would be interested in as well, or no?
I don't want to speak for the county because obviously that's all in the negotiations. So I say that once this becomes a real live, you know, with the information, talking and discussions, then obviously I will take it with our county manager and our county attorney, and we'll go through this whole process together, and hopefully we'll make it as successful as possible.
And it'll ultimately be an issue for the county commission.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, because I know that waiting for grants will take every bit of the 2 years that we talked about. And I know that we could probably do it quicker, but as long as there's some sort of reimbursement for the investment made to make it happen, because it'll benefit everybody even after I put my hangar up. Yeah, that's something that if the county's willing to do it, then that's something I can talk to my people about too as well.
Bo or Greg, the annual funding that we get, you know, the 166.66, and then we match whatever, is any of that money, could that be used for that?
No, FAA does not allow you to pay for construction after the fact. The only thing you're able to do that with is land acquisition. As long as you follow the federal guidelines, you can pay for land acquisition in that way.
I would have sworn we built T hangars with some of that money.
Well, yeah, you can build hangars and do that kind of stuff if all your safety related items are taken care of, but you cannot use federal funds to pay for something that's already been completed unless it's land acquisition. So if you want to use it to construct something, you have to be under grant before you begin construction. Land, they allow.
I'm completely confused by what you just said.
So it's almost like a retroactive payment. You can do that with land because of the nature, you have a willing seller. They want that to be able to move quick. But if you are building something or designing something, you have to be under grant before you start that work.
But I'm talking about we used to call it Vision 100 money. I don't know what it's called now.
It's non-primary entitlement.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, what he's saying, and we've gone through a lot of avenues with the state and having discussions. So if you can't do anything, you can't go through and pay for something and then get reimbursed, because then it's already done and the state will consider it done, so to say. So what they have said is that if you can go through the process but again, the process is how things rank in terms of the airport, and all the safety stuff has to be done first before they'll even think about doing construction.
Correct. Yeah. I
So,
remember that.
yeah, it's like a cart and egg, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, it would have to be done and approved before we could do any kind of work in that particular area. And that's,
and I'm not talking about using that money for reimbursement. I'm talking about for the actual site prep.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's definitely the corporate hangar is definitely in our top 20 priorities for the airport, if it's not top 5. Obviously, the need for more pads in that particular area it's not just Mr. James and his
Oh yeah, I know that.
venture. It's others that have expressed interest, but yeah, and like I said, it's in the top 5 or 6 of the items that the state considers year after year in terms of their funding pot. But the funding pot is only one time a year that you get granted, and then you've got to wait, and then it depends upon how things are scored in regards to the state. So there's it's not a very easy process, but it's something that just to know, and for Brett to know that it's in there. But other things are going to score higher in the current state as where we are at the airport.
So maybe I'm a little behind. Do we not get the 166 or whatever it is anymore?
It's $150 a year.
Yeah, and then we match.
Correct. Even though we get it, it still has to go and be accepted by the state and to have it approved. So even
The project.
correct.
Right.
So then they're going to look at all these safety features of what NPE are required to pay for. And if they say, well, you really should address this first, then we're going to have to address another area before we can go that route. But yes, we're definitely hot and heavy with them in regards to conversations for that north end.
Okay. So I just for everybody, it's kind of tough with not having a map in front of us, but just to kind of sum up what we said is, yes, sir, Mr. James, we want to work with you, and we're work that north end. We're not restricted to just storage at all, but once we get things settled down, we figure out how we can make this work, we'll do that. Am I wrong in that, Bo?
No, sir. I mean, like I said, we are willing to entertain, any opportunities for growth at the airport. Just currently, we don't have a pad sitting there ready for growth, but we'll work with them, and if it comes available, then obviously we will seek him out to see if he wants to continue on that path.
Well, that sounds good, guys. I really appreciate the time.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Ms. Denton, our county manager, wants to speak.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Bo originally said, we did meet with Mr. James, and we are anticipating and looking forward to a document or business plan that we can actually review. That's another very important piece of this, so that we have the information we need to evaluate and move forward with. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on this one then? Any other business anybody like to bring up tonight?
I would like to bring up something.
Yes, sir.
I had a resident in the county who flies aircraft, and he has talked to me several times. He has a private grass strip, and he is not able to buy fuel at the airport. And he's able to go to other airports outside of the county and buy his fuel. And I was hoping that we could get some kind of an agreement with a lawyer or something, drawn up contract stating that it's only going in the aircraft if he provides an N number or whatever, so we don't lose that little bit of a sale. I know it's probably only 5 or 10 gallons at the time, but dimes make dollars. And and he's a citizen taxpayer of the county. And he lists his airplanes on property taxes, and he should be able to buy fuel at Franklin County if he wants to.
I agree. He
I
wouldn't have any
absolutely
problem
agree.
at Rocky Mount.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I've addressed this a few times. We really should get an answer for these people.
Mr. Tribili, I don't know if you're referring to me in regards to these people, but just to reiterate to everybody here in regards to the situation, as all of you are aware, we were having a lot of people come into the terminal bringing different types of containers, whether approved or unapproved, not knowing where they went, not knowing if the taxes are being paid like they should. Obviously, our fuel is different than car fuel, so to say, where obviously the taxes are paid for by us. So it's a little different in terms of the liability. I don't disagree with Commissioner Bunn. I did the analysis. It represents about $300 per year in this particular sale. When I looked at it year over year in the past. So yeah, it's not a lot of money, but yeah, every little bit helps, and I get that. My main concern, and again, is something that I will need to talk with the county attorney about. If this is something that the Board of Commissioners want to approve to move forward, I would just like the assurances through liability that the county, the airport, and my staff is not held accountable if there happens to be some type of event in regards to the fuel that they get from the airport. So that's my main concern.
No, I understand. I agree. We've talked about this.
Yes, sir.
My suggestion is that we do have to be careful that if somebody has a credential, if they've got a pilot's license, if they've got a mechanic's license, if they can produce that credential, then there's a reasonable, that's within reason. I agree we don't need everybody coming in there and, there could be issues. But if a person has a credential, again, a pilot's license or a mechanic's license, I think we should be able to see our way through to supporting that person.
I agree.
I'd be in agreement of that.
I agree with what we're talking about, but I also see what Bo's saying. Somebody comes in with a 5-gallon can, puts in avgas, takes it to their plane. By the way, the can had some water in it or some trash or something like that. They put it in the airplane, the engine quits. Who's responsible? And
they're coming to us.
Work that with the we can work out an agreement or something, like I said, with the lawyer and get so that we're held harmless or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's the direction we want to go.
And I would recommend that it's in an approved can as well.
Yeah.
I wonder is, because Rocky Mount will do this. I wonder if it's worth a couple of phone calls. How do they do it? How do they do it? I mean,
I have talked with them, and basically what he wants is a N number so he can document that it's going to an aircraft and it's in a approved container.
Sure.
Okay. So, Mr. Bunn, I think if we can work out the details with the liability and make sure we get it in concert with Mr. Sturgis there, I don't see why we can't get something worked out with that. Do you, Bo, is there a problem with that or?
No, sir. I just want to make sure that everyone is protected, and that's my main concern. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the Board of Commissioners approve it, then and the liability is there, and everybody's protected, and it's good for the community. I'm all for it.
And it's more than $300 because Frank Sweat has talked to me also, and he's going to Rocky Mount to get his gas now because of the hassles here.
Yes, sir. He flies in to get his gas. I agree. But in regards to the 5-gallon cans and looking at that analysis, it represents about $300 of people coming through the terminal to have us fill up their cans.
Well, I don't think we want them coming through the terminal, but we can work that out too.
Okay. or is that?
Bo, and by
Yes,
the
sir.
way, I said these people, I was referring to the 3 phone calls that I've received on it. That's what I was referring to.
No problem at all, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, Frank Donnie, can I ask Doc, did you say that the guys from Crooked Creek are now going to Rocky Mount?
That's what Frank told me.
Yes,
And
Mom.
what was the basis for that? Because they fly in, so I'm very curious. I mean, they come in to buy a lot
I
of
think
fuel.
right now it's cost.
Yeah, the cost of avgas at Rocky Mount with what Dion's doing, we can't match it, to be honest with you. They're only making, if anything, no more than 10 cents a gallon. So if that. And so it is at bare minimum. I'm not sure where, his model, his financial model, but that is one that when he took over that position, he's definitely, and I think he does it to bring people in, which is great. And he should do that. But yeah, we cannot match what they're currently doing in Rocky Mount in terms of fuel cost.
Agreed. That's your really one of your few sources of revenue, and so it has to be a reasonable margin.
Right.
Yeah, Bo, if you do that, he gives away free food sometimes too, so you don't want to get in that mix.
Yeah, we can give away hot dogs.
It's a good bunch up there.
All right. Commissioner Bond, does that help you out with that?
Yes, sir, it does. I think we can probably make some progress with this now.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Anyone have anything else to bring up tonight? Okay, nothing heard. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, those
Second.
in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Anything else, Bo?
No, sir. Y'all have a wonderful 2021.
You bet. I
Yeah,
forgot,
buddy.
One last thing.
we're
Bo,
mentioning
Bo, it's
meeting
great to see you in good health.
in
Thank
March.
you. I appreciate that, Dr. Stover. I'm glad to be released a little bit to come back to the airport for half days coming up. So hopefully y'all see me out there a little bit more than obviously me going through cancer treatment. So thank you all for your support. I am in remission. I have beat it, the doctors have said. So even though 2021 has gone crazy so far, we're going to move forward and with me, and I'm going to help grow the airport as best I can.
And we appreciate that very, very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man.
Hey, just real quick before everybody goes, saying that we're meeting every other month, so our next meeting will be March the 9th.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Y'all have a blessed day. Bye.
You too,
See you,
Steve.
See you, Steve.
Bye.